There really is no typical RICO case.
Emory Law School Associate Dean Kate Levine says criminal cases like this one can be complicated.
The degree of punishment typically tracks the degree of a person's involvement in the crime that's been alleged.
Some defendants face just 3 charges. Others, like former President Donald Trump and attorney Rudy Giuliani, face 13.
Even if we put that aside, even for 2 defendants accused of the same crime, convicted of the same crime, there's no requirement in American law that they be given the exact same sentence. Up front and agrees to turn state's evidence is likely going to get some sort of deal in terms of reduced charges and reduced punishments.
The fake electors scheme has led to a number of the charges in this indictment in Georgia, including the making of false statements, perjury. These are all acts in furtherance of the RICO conspiracy.
This is really beyond precedent.
John Acevedo is a visiting associate professor of practice at Emory University Law School.
Individually by themselves, without the RICO, would be serious charges alone.
Emory Law School professor John Acevedo says it's about more than those who were charged.
These are going to be the major political figures of the day coming through the city to testify, to be defendants.
To our guests who are weighing in on all of this as we continue to read the tea leaves, Michael Trugoat is a political science professor at the University of Michigan. He has been with us many times on the show. And Kay Levine is a professor and associate dean for research at Emory Law.
That's exactly right. This is Georgia seeking to vindicate its own interests, which are distinct from the interests of the federal government in the prior cases involving the indictments that were brought by Jack Smith. So Georgia has its own criminal code, and it has an interest in furthering justice in support of its own criminal code.
Associate professor at Emory Law School. Professor, good morning to you. Appreciate your time.
I think the biggest surprise was the sheer number of co-defendants who were actually indicted. This is not unindicted co-conspirators. These are 19 individuals, including the former president, all indicted. And I think what that's very likely to lead to is the ability of the district attorney's office to have a defendant make a plea deal and turn state's evidence for their side and therefore testify against the former president.
Spectrum News Washington, D.C. reporter Kevin Fry and also Emory University School of Law professor John Felipe Acevedo.
So it's not quite clear why they decided to fast-track them, but the issue here is then to move the grand jury faster and to wrap it up. The grand jurors, this is not their only case. They're looking at many other cases at the same time. So it maybe they realized they could just move through the witnesses faster, and this would enable the grand jury to wrap up hearing this indictment and move on to the next case.
SB in depth. Emory University law professor John Acevedo joins us to talk about the chronology and the import of what we're likely to see in Fulton County this week or early next if the grand jury moves forward with Trump charges. First question, will we know what the charges are, or will the indictment be sealed or secret?
That'll really be up to the district attorney. She will have to, if she wants to keep it sealed, that's usually the outlier. The U.S. system is really geared towards kind of public open knowledge, but in a high-profile case like this, there's obviously some incentive to have things closed.
Emory Law professor John Acevedo says what stood out to him were the 18 co-defendants also facing RICO charges.
I think I just was a bit taken back that the district attorney was going to be so ambitious and put so many resources into that sort of case, because they are, by their very nature, of course, costly and quite complex to prosecute.
Emory Law professor John Acevedo says what stood out to him were the 18 co-defendants also facing RICO charges.
I think I just was a bit taken back that the district attorney was going to be so ambitious and put so many resources into that sort of case, because they